Well, ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for the government keynote, which is happening on the economic impact of COVID-19 in India. While digital becomes the mainstream, the novel 2020 pandemic takes every sphere of human activity into the next level. Financial institutions are forced to move quickly to protect their employees, transform their operations, and serve customers in a new and improved way. So for this, which is on the topic of economic impact of COVID-19 in India, viewers, let me tell you, we've got with us the Director, Investment and Digital Economy, Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, Mr. Pawan Kumar. Well, with extensive experience in tax policy and administration, Pawan Kumar coordinates fintech-related work with various departments of government and regulators to facilitate innovation and investments in fintech sector. Also, he represents India in Global Partnership of Financial Inclusions of G20, has worked on report of steering committee on fintech-related issues that submitted the set of progressive recommendations in 2019. Also part of the ministerial steering committee on the fintech, also organizes the work of empowered group of economic and welfare involved with the economic response to COVID-19. So I'd request the audience to please use the Q&A tab to post your questions during the session. It will be picked and answered by the speaker at the end of the session if time allows. Also requesting you all to keep checking your My Chats option. So ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Pawan Kumar, who's just joined us. Thank you so much, Pawan, for joining us today. Over to you.
Thanks, Bhavna. Thanks, Senior and entire team of Trescon. First of all, I want to congratulate you that I've seen the agenda and the topics that you have chosen, covering entire range of sandboxes and open banking and cyber security, cyber technologies, frauds. So all these topics today, this age and world, it has become much more relevant. Economic impact of COVID-19, of course, whatever you state, that is obvious at that point of time. It might look obvious at that point of time. When you see the same thing after a month or two, then you probably everybody is like re-estimating or reimagining and going backward and forth. It all depends upon whether you are an optimist or a pessimist or you are in between. So sometimes when you can hear V-curve recovery, sometimes you hear U-shaped recovery. Even we have heard of L-shaped recovery and W-shaped recovery. One thing is very, very certain that this is once in a quarter of a century kind of an event which has taken place, which has hit us last 6 and 8 months. And of course, the responses have also been country-wise different, based on their needs, based on their capacities. And it has had an impact everywhere. Jokingly, sometimes I put it, say that COVID is basically Chinese-originated virus-induced destruction. Of course, this is only for the short term, and but the impact has been huge. And globally, some numbers like global FDI flows that are expected to decrease by about 40% in 2020 from the 2019 value, which was roughly about $1.5 trillion. And even there are expectations that the earning from top 5,000 multinational enterprises that will reduce by 40%. One consequence of all of it has been that the countries have been shifting their priorities from liberal to protectionist regime. As we know of, that 24 countries by now have introduced some sort of a screening process for their FDIs. And having said all of this, the global response, the fiscal as well as monetary response across the world has been massive. Almost 7 trillion USD in US dollars, roughly about 500 lakh crore in Indian INR term, has been pumped in by different countries, and that is the amount of global fiscal support. And of course, it is going more and more up. One part of it is that sometimes little worrying part of it is that the global debt stock, which has gone up to somewhere about more than $255 trillion, roughly about 322% of the global GDP. And this is 40% higher than where it was even post 2008. So that's why when I use the word that it is once in a quarter of a century, because we are seeing a world which is even different than what we had post 2008. In India, of course, everywhere, the monetary organization, the IMF, the World Bank, and everybody has made projections. Worldwide GDP, IMF projection says that worldwide GDP that will contract about 4.9%. And similarly, they expect something for India also. But the kind of the graph that they have plotted, of course, right now it looks V, and V can become U if there is extended period of lockdowns. And most of the places, of course, the bigger cities that now we have almost all the economic activity has resumed, but somewhere the smaller towns and smaller cities, that is, they are still struggling with this pandemic as of now. So it will all depend upon over a period of next 1 month or 2 months what kind of economic activity, whether they are undisturbed flow, because all of us are aware that the logistics flow, even if there is a lockdown at one place, the entire logistic chain gets disturbed. Having said all this background, of course, it has been a great period for BFSI sector. Challenging, difficult, but very, very exciting over a period of next few years. One thing this whole pandemic has brought is it is not a simple nudge anymore. Nudges can last for 10 days or 15 days. But now since this crisis has gone on for months now, that whatever we call it, behavioral nudges, they have now somewhere become a habit. There are general sayings that say that something that you do repeatedly over more than 3 weeks, it becomes your habit. So the people behavior and habits have transformed. Now there are opportunities now which has gone to different scale in education, e-commerce, telemedicine, and of course, payments and financial inclusion. Health sector, you would have noticed the Honorable Prime Minister announced this digital health mission recently. And these are the exciting areas. In India, we have over a period of last 3 to 4 years now, we have seen that we have digitally leapfrogged. Every country had a different options for financial inclusion. And as Xenia mentioned just now, that one of the most unbanked population probably in the world will be in these countries. And even the opportunities are there in a country like India and similar nations. And realizing this, the government of India launched in 2014 a massive program for financial inclusion, of course, supported by sort of creating a public infrastructure, digital infrastructure, because we had to digitally leapfrog. If we would have gone by same rate by which we were growing, then probably it would have taken us another 46 years to have 40 crore, 400 million people to open bank accounts. And unless you had a bank account, all these financial inclusion today probably are meaningless. And considering all this, we have digitally leapfrog, and there is way much more to go. Realizing this, that's of course over the last 2 years, even at the G20 level, the world-wide, there is a global partnership of financial inclusion, which Bhavna just mentioned, works under the G20, and then their agenda for this year before COVID, already it was digital financial inclusion. Digital financial inclusion for SMEs, digital financial inclusion for women, digital financial inclusion for youth, and this is firmly part of the agenda. Of course, the whole COVID pandemic has validated the resolve and desire of every country that this is where we need to invest our resources and energies on. Now, in terms of in terms of India, this digital leapfrogging has been possible. Of course, what we call with India Stack. This full stack is now fully operational with our own version of open banking, which is account aggregator, now fully into operation. And the first major use case is probably a few months away or a few weeks away now, when we are trying to connect the network of GSTN with this account aggregator network, and have a full chain wherein this whole entire open banking network and the GST network and account aggregator network and then the APIs of the banks, they can all come together and provide the invoice financing digitally in a matter of minutes or possibly even seconds. And these are all possible because of the digital foundation which was laid over a period of few years now, with having a very progressive regulator in the form of RBI, the different departments of the government. And we had realizing all this last year in 2018. This was the budget para, which where Honorable Finance Minister announced that there will be an interministerial group of on fintech, which will recommend measures that are across the departments and regulators. So we had a full team of regular representations, high-level representatives from regulators and different uh, different departments, including electronic department, financial services, Department of Economic Affairs, MSMEs, and then there was a set of progressive recommendations were made. Some of them have you would have already seen live, like video KYC was one of them, regulatory sandbox that was part of the recommendation of the group. And now we have a regulatory sandbox with RBI, IRDA, and SEBI. All of them are coming along with the regulators, with the sandboxes, regulatory sandboxes. Of course, we realize that we are not a place where like Singapore or even UK, where you have a limited regulators. Like in Singapore, you have a Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is both stock market as well as a banking regulator. Considering this very recently, now we have a mechanism which is being established. It is the form of interregulatory technical group on sandbox, which will examine we realize that the innovations may not be limited to a particular regulator. So you might have innovations which are banking related, but which will have insurance regulations involved, which may have financial market regulations involved. And how do we deal with this? So under the FSDC now, there is an interregulatory technical group which is being created. Very shortly, it will be into operations. Open banking, I've already mentioned that account aggregator is already live, and the first use case in the form of the flow-based lending that will come in a matter of few weeks. Challenges, of course, of the pandemic have they were a little too fast, and that probably brought lot many institutions. They were not really prepared. Also, they challenge their whole infrastructure, and most of them have started investing in digital infrastructure. That is the need of the hour, and we have an exciting future ahead with this whole adoption of digital technology with the consumers. There are surveys which are saying that not more than 40% of the customers who have been used to being banked from a distance probably may never return back to physical banking channels, and they will be happy with the kind of transactions that they are doing. Government response, of course, had been we were able to achieve a lot very quickly, very fast. Of course, because of the rails, of the channels, of the digital infrastructure network that we have developed over a period of few years. You might have noticed that major part of the Prime Minister Garib Kalyan package, which was announced within days of our first nationwide lockdown, within a few months, matter of few weeks and months, the entire almost about 70,000 crore, $10 billion were transferred into the account of these beneficiaries. Of course, these are over and above the regular DBT, direct benefit transfers that happen over a period of time. And to a large extent, we were able to have a fast targeted delivery because of this whole network of digital infrastructure that we have been able to create. Of course, services like UPI, Barcode, QR code, have all seen a big traction. And in coming years, we see an exciting times for banking and financial services industries. I've seen the agenda; they're very exciting. and list of panelists, also very, very senior guys. I can see now people have joined. So Dr. Anand Srivastav, good regards to him, Dr. Ganesh Ratrajan, and everyone in the panel. I'm sure that this will be a very fruitful and exciting day of discussion ahead. So thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Zinia, for giving me this opportunity. Thanks very much.